Hello, everyone. Welcome to Survivor Not by Chance. Today's topic is going to be normalized dysfunction. And as I say every episode, I do want to put my disclaimer out there and say I am not a licensed psychologist. I'm not a licensed therapist. I am just an individual who is sharing her journey and story to help someone else. Hopefully, the information that I provide from my experiences and my story, I can help one person, two people, or 10 people. Who knows? But this is my story, and I'm Nikki J. So I just want to go forward and go forth and speak about normalized dysfunction. So I did look up some information. A lot of the things that I look up and I research before every podcast, I get a lot of information from Google, and I try to be prepared. A lot of my Not a lot, but all of my podcasts are basically specific information that I found to be helpful with me dealing with my childhood trauma. And when I was growing up, I learned and heard a lot of people would say, people who knew my story or part of my story would say, you're in a dysfunctional family. And I heard adults say that, but I never understood what it was because what I experienced was normal. So I didn't think it was dysfunctional. I didn't even know what dysfunctional was. Everything seemed to be normal to me. So I did look up something online. A dysfunctional family, according to Google, is a family in which conflict, misbehavior, and often child neglect or abuse on parts of individual parents occur continuously and regularly, leading other members to accommodate such actions. And then I also wanted to look up to see what normalized was. So, according to Google, normalize is to bring or to return to a normal or standard condition or state. So for me, normalized dysfunction is when you have a situation and it's completely dysfunctional, but you normalize it, or people around you normalize it to make you feel as if this is the norm, this is the way things should be, and it shouldn't be any other way besides this specific situation. Most children don't know what dysfunction is if they've never seen anything outside of what they see in their home. So I did want to speak on one of the very prevalent things in the African American community that I feel is normalized dysfunction. And that one specific thing is when we talk down to each other and we use it in form of jokes. So for example, when I was a kid, people used to always call me Miss Goody Two Shoes. Adults would always call me white girl. Adults would always say I was proper. Adults would always say, family members now, mind you, would always say she thinks she's better than this person. And I was only like 8 years old. And I never understood why I was called white girl or why they called me a nerd. I didn't wear glasses, so how could I be a nerd? I didn't have braces, so how could I be a nerd? I didn't understand at 8. How do you normalize that? Eventually, I got used to it, and I felt like, okay, this is just what it is. It bothered me, but I didn't allow them to see it bother me because in my family, if you showed any sign of weakness, such as crying or as if something bothered you or made you upset, they continued to poke at that situation and make you feel worse about why you felt the way you felt, even though the way you felt was valid. Calling each other names is a normalized dysfunction. We use it as jokes in the African American community, but what people don't realize is you're basically tearing that person down little by little by little. You should never ever call a child out of their name unless you're calling them sweetheart, sunshine, sugar plum, anything that's positive. When you bring a negative connotation to a child, that destroys their inside confidence. And as a result of me being called all those names, I felt worthless. I felt as if I wasn't good enough to be on earth. No one knew that. I never shared that with anyone. But because of that, I had suicidal thoughts. I literally would sit in my bed and I would close my eyes and I would try to imagine me not being here on this earth in this world because of me being bullied by adults in my home. Bullying don't just start in schools. Bullying starts in home sometimes. My sisters would tease me. My cousins would tease me. They would call me hungry, hungry hippo. The reason they called me hungry, hungry hippo was because they felt as if I always wanted to eat food. Little did they know that the reason I always wanted to eat, and mind you, I was the skinniest thing ever. So to call someone hungry, hungry hippo, and they're super skinny, have no meat on their bones, that builds another complex. Normalized dysfunction. The adults called me hungry, hungry hippo. The children called me hungry, hungry hippo. Normalized dysfunction again. It built a complex in me that made me feel as if I was never small enough. I was never skinny enough. I was always fat. So, but back to the topic at hand, in regards to me always being hungry, I was hungry because I was literally hungry. What people don't know is that the meals that I had, my 2 meals that I received during the week, was basically at school. Monday through Friday, I would eat breakfast at school, which was very small. Back then, all we received was a bowl of cereal and a small, tiny thing of milk. Then we would have lunch, which was very small. And then I would go home and I would eat a small dinner because they didn't want me to be so-called fat. I was not allowed to eat, I think, after 6 o'clock. And after 6 o'clock, that's it. You don't eat anything else. We're not going to bed until 10 p.m. So I come home from school at 3 o'clock. Mind you, I didn't eat lunch until last time I ate lunch was maybe 10 o'clock in the morning. So from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. I didn't eat. Then by the time I got home, I finally ate around 5:30. Then I couldn't eat after 6. So then I'm hungry from 6 p.m. until 8 o'clock, 8:30 in the morning. I don't have any food in my system. We weren't allowed to drink any water or anything in between those times. So therefore I was hungry. This was different time periods when I lived with a specific individual. When I lived with my biological mother, oh, that was a whole nother scenario. We didn't have food. We literally, in our refrigerator, I remember specifically, we had flour. We had a box of, oh, it just left my mind. I can see it in my head. The baking soda. We had a box of baking soda. We had flour. And that was it. In our cabinets, we had rice. We had oil, and we had seasonings. I don't remember vividly ever another time where we had food, where we had literally a refrigerator full of food. And my mom was getting food stamps, but she was an addict. So as a result of her being an addict, we didn't have anything to eat because she would sell our food stamps. And to me, that was normal. Another thing to me was normal. So my mom would get high in the house, and when she got high in the house, she used the spoons that we ate with to make cereal or anything we need to eat with. So I remember 9 years old, 8 years old, I literally was washing dishes, and the spoons had like the burn marks on the bottom of it because my mom would cook the crack over the stove. So when I washed dishes, I was like scrubbing and scrubbing and scrubbing the spoons because I had it in my mind. I'm like, no, my sisters cannot see this. Not realizing, you're 8, you shouldn't see this either. But I was trying to protect my sisters. So I'm like, no, they can't see this. They can't see this. I have to get this off. I have to get this off. Like I would torture myself with that. What 8-year-old deserves to know what a crack spoon looks like and know that her mom used it to cook crack in, but she needs to clean it really well because we don't have money to get new spoons, but your sisters will need that when we do finally get food in the house. Because sometimes our family members would bring food to the house for us because they knew we didn't have food, so they would bring, some of our older aunts would bring food to the house and make sure we had food to eat sometimes. So when we did have that, I wanted to make sure that my sisters could use the spoons. I thought that was normal, but no. That was something I normalized. Another thing that happens often in the African American community and minority communities is that disagreements are not necessarily disagreements. We never had disagreements in our house. We had fights. We had brawls, fist fights, bloodshed. Somebody has a black eye. Somebody's lips swollen. And it was fist fights. We threw things at each other. I remember throwing those old phones, like the rotor phones. I remember throwing one of them at my sister's head. My sister used to beat me up all the time because I was so skinny. I was skinnier than all of my other sisters and all of my other cousins. So I was the one who got beat up on. And then I was timid. I was shy. I was fragile. So I just let them beat me up, not realizing I'm the oldest. So why should I let them beat me up? I didn't really fight back. So because I didn't fight back, guess what? I was definitely a white girl because I didn't fight back. I was definitely a punk because I didn't fight back. And this was adults now. They encouraged us fighting. I remember one time my sister embarrassed me at the park, and I got tired of it and I just like lost it. I don't even remember what happened. I think I literally blacked out. Only thing I remember is her getting up. I pushed her off of a cliff. And when I pushed her off the cliff, mind you, we're in 3rd grade. I'm in 3rd grade. She's in 2nd grade. And I got kicked out that day from the park because I pushed my sister off a cliff. But what people didn't know is I was getting beat up all the time. I got tired of it. But at the park, the adults told us, no, you can't do this. This is not right. You should never do anything like that. But when I got home, my family was like, that's right. That's right. You were supposed to. It's about time you finally beat her up. She always beating you up. It's about time you finally got her. And I felt good. I'm like, yes, I finally got her. I finally got her. So, of course, that was one battle that I thought I won. But it was some more situations after that, we fought. I mean, it was times where she would get a butcher knife and chase me and literally try to stab me. She stabbed up doors to try to stab me. It's been a lot of stuff. I remember one time we were fist fighting and I was tired, literally out of breath from fighting. And the only way I was able to get her to stop was I literally had to sit on her neck. And I sat on her neck. And after me sitting on her neck, I got up, caught my breath. I got up and ran in my room and locked the door. That is not normal. But because we've been fighting like that since we were like 7, 8 years old, that was the norm to me. And that's completely dysfunctional. Completely. No child, no adult, no person should ever have to fight in that manner just to live in a house every day. Another thing that was a normalized dysfunction in my household was seeing my mom yelling, cursing out her boyfriends, cursing out my sister's dad, cursing out my biological dad, cursing out anybody. and telling them what she would do. I will F you up. I will do such and such. I will kill you. And then I would hear the guys say the same thing. I will